Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your heart in silence. Absolute silence, like the calm surface of a lake before dawn. Beneath that surface, there is something alive. Not a fish, not a thought, but a force, a presence. Something ancient, essential, and infinitely wise. Maybe you haven't felt it in a long time. Maybe it's been drowned out by external voices, obligations that don't speak to your soul, or by the silent exhaustion that comes from pretending to be okay. And yet, it's still there. That force has never been destroyed. It's just dormant. Like a seed patiently waiting for the right spring vibration to bloom. Have you ever wondered why, even when you're doing everything right, you still feel a subtle emptiness, an echo in your chest? Or why, even when surrounded by information about spirituality, techniques, and practices, your soul still seems hungry for something you can't name? That's not failure, it's calling. It is the call of your original energetic nature, trying to remind you who you really are, beyond the roles, beyond the pain, beyond the mask of survival. What if you could hear this call now, not as a desperate cry, but as a loving whisper from the universal consciousness itself? Alan Watts said that you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. But what prevents you from feeling this? Why does this inner power, which seems so true in words, sound so distant in practice? The answer is not in effort, but in reconnection. Reconnection with what you once were, already are, and always will be. Spiritual neuroscience shows us that our electromagnetic field, this invisible field that the heart emits, responds directly to our emotional states. Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza reinforce this. When emotions such as fear, guilt, or discouragement become chronic, they reprogram the brain to operate in defense modes, not in creation. In other words, your power has not disappeared. It has been silenced by frequencies that do not belong to you. And these frequencies are often inherited. Limiting beliefs from childhood, traumas that have been hidden in the unconscious, familiar energetic patterns, all of these act as a fog around your true essence. But all fog is temporary. And when you begin to breathe with presence, to feel with awareness, and to remember with soul, the fog begins to dissipate. And what emerges, slowly, is not a new version of you. It is the version that has always been there, silently observing. This video is an invitation to this remembrance. Not as someone who teaches something new, but as someone who lights a torch to illuminate the path back to your inner home. Let's explore together why this power has been dormant, how it can be awakened, and most of all, how you can feel whole, present, and vibrant again even in the midst of life's imperfections. Because your true power doesn't need to be earned. It just needs to be remembered. Have you ever wondered why, even with good intentions, good thoughts, and even some spiritual knowledge, your life still seems stuck in some aspects? As if something inside you knows exactly what to do, but something deeper and silent keeps your energy frozen? That something is the invisible blockage, and it starts long before your current awareness. Imagine a child running freely through an open field. He is not afraid of falling. He does not worry about what others will think. His energy is in natural expansion. He lives in a state of pure creation. That child is you, before you were molded, before the world taught that safety is more important than truth. From a very early age, we are taught to follow a pattern. School rewards us for getting it right, but rarely for questioning. Society applauds those who obey, but distrusts those who dream differently. And even at home, the love we receive often comes with the condition that we are good, well-behaved, acceptable. Every time you silenced a genuine impulse to fit in, a part of your creative energy was slowed down. Not destroyed, just slowed down. And this slowing down is not visible to the eye. It manifests itself as hesitation. Like that inner voice that says, "It's not time yet. What if it goes wrong? Better not mess with this now." It's a defense system, an internal code that your brain, with the intention of protecting you, has programmed over the years. Neuroscience confirms the human brain was not designed for expansion, but for survival. It prefers to repeat known patterns, even if these patterns generate pain, than to risk something new, which does not yet feel safe. Repetitive emotional patterns, in turn, generate stable neural networks. And these networks become like tunnels of thought and behavior. They trap your creative energy within a structure of fear and self-restraint. Bruce Lipton, in his studies on epigenetics, showed that unconscious beliefs directly influence the biology of our body. In other words, if you believe that you can't, that you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, your body vibrates at that frequency. Your energy field retracts. And when your vibration is retracted, creation doesn't flow. The blockage isn't just in the mind. It's in the frequency that your body emits. And this frequency is shaped by unresolved emotions. Remember, all unhealed trauma turns into defense programming. And emotional defense, although protective, also isolates. It isolates you from your own potential, because creating requires vulnerability. And being vulnerable requires internal security. Without this, you remain in a subtle cycle of passive waiting. Waiting for something external to validate your strength. Waiting for a sign that says, now is the moment. But this moment won't come from outside. It begins when you look inside yourself with sincerity and ask, at what point in my life was I taught that it was unsafe to trust myself? Maybe it was when you felt ashamed for getting too emotional. When someone said you were a dreamer, naive, out of touch with reality. Or maybe when you failed at something you loved and decided never to try again. These moments are recorded. And without realizing it, you start living trying to avoid repeating those pains. But by avoiding pain, you also avoid expansion. Alan Watts said that security is a superstition, because life, in its essence, is movement, flow, transformation. And inner power is only activated when there is a willingness to go through insecurity with presence. Deep spirituality does not deny pain, it embraces it. It looks at conditioning with compassion and says, now that I see you, I can do things differently. David Bohm spoke of the implicit order, a dimension where everything is already interconnected. Your creative force exists there. It does not need to be constructed. It only needs to be remembered. And remembering begins when you choose to free yourself from the obligation to be who they expect, to be who you feel. This requires vibrational courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting in spite of it. When you begin to observe your patterns with kindness, without judgment, something changes. You stop fighting yourself. And this simple act of allowing yourself to see, feel, acknowledge opens cracks in the armor. Light enters through these cracks, and the energy that was once stuck begins to flow again. This is the first step in awakening. Recognizing the blockage not as an enemy, but as a sign. It shows you where your energy has stopped to protect yourself. And by bringing presence to that place, you begin to move again. You don't have to break your beliefs. You just have to love yourself enough to no longer live by them. Because every invisible blockage dissolves in the loving presence of awareness. And what emerges when this happens is the natural flow of your most authentic power. There is a subtle and deeply rooted misunderstanding in the modern spiritual path. The idea that awakening inner power needs to be a spectacle. Something visible, grandiose, almost theatrical. As if the silence of the soul had to prove its strength through complex rituals, perfect postures, and a completely aligned life on the outside. This silent and often well-intentioned error arises from the confusion between presence and performance. At the beginning of the spiritual journey, it is natural to seek references, techniques, teachers, and practices. But over time, if there is no awareness, these practices become soulless habits, repeated movements to appear spiritual. rather than expressing an authentic inner state. Performative spirituality is like a clouded mirror. It reflects something beautiful, but does not reveal the essence. It creates a new, more subtle prison where you feel that you must always be well, always centered, always loving, even when inside there is pain, confusion, or darkness. Florence Scovel Shinn said that truth does not need to be defended. It manifests itself. True inner power does not need to be shown. It vibrates. It is felt. It transforms the environment effortlessly because it is born from a real energetic coherence, not from a vibrational theater. And here is the paradox. Often, what blocks your power is not the absence of spiritual practice, but the excess of practices disconnected from your inner truth. Visualizations done mechanically, affirmations said without emotion, meditations that become an obligation. All of this sounds beautiful, but it resonates empty, because it doesn't matter what you do with your body if your soul is not present. Quantum physics, especially in the interpretations of Niels Bohr and Max Planck, reminds us that consciousness is the basis of reality. The observer alters the observed. In other words, it is not the practice itself that changes your life. It is the state of presence with which you do this practice. When you align with real presence, even the simplest gesture, like drinking water with gratitude, becomes a sacred act. And when you are disconnected, not even the most elaborate ritual touches your heart. Performative spirituality also breeds another danger, that of comparison. You start to observe the path of others and ask yourself, am I doing it right? Is my frequency high enough? Why do I still feel sad when I've been meditating for so long? These questions, when they don't come from sincere introspection, but from self-demand, feed vibrational guilt. And guilt, even disguised as spiritual effort, slows down your energy. Ram Dass, with his sweet and penetrating wisdom, said, "We are all just walking each other home." The spiritual journey is not a competition. It's not about being the most awake, the highest, the purest. It's about being true, being whole, being you with all the parts, including the ones that are still healing. Authenticity is the highest frequency that exists because it carries coherence between emotion, thought, and action. And it is in this coherence that the electromagnetic field of the heart, as shown by studies by the HeartMath Institute, expands in a more powerful way. Your inner power does not need lights. It needs truth. And the truth, sometimes, is ugly. It is confusing. It is raw. But it is only when you embrace this truth that transmutation happens. Because light does not heal what it ignores. It heals what it touches, including within you. Carl Jung called this integrating the shadow. He said that you do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but rather by making the darkness conscious. And when you do this, without needing to show off, something very profound reveals itself, the simplicity of presence. You do not need more practices. You need more presence in what you already do. You do not need a new altar. You need to transform the now into an altar. You do not need to appear awake. You need to allow yourself to feel, even when the feeling is dense. The mistake of performative spirituality is to focus on form. Real awakening dissolves form to reveal content. And the content of your soul is vast, sacred, and often silent. The butterfly does not announce its flight with words. The sun does not need to prove that it shines. The tree does not display its roots to be respected. In the same way, your inner power awakens in the stillness of authenticity. It is when you listen to your intuition and follow it even if no one sees it. It is when you cry alone and embrace your pain without trying to fix yourself. It is when you act with love even if no one reciprocates. These are the true signs of awakening, and they do not need applause. They only need you whole, present, real. Have you ever noticed how certain emotional patterns seem to repeat themselves in your life, even when you try to change? As if something invisible but incredibly powerful keeps pulling you back to the same place, the same emotion, The same story? That something is your brain, acting exactly as it was programmed to act, protecting, conserving energy, keeping you in the familiar. Yes, the human mind is a masterpiece of preservation. But when the focus is only on survival, it becomes the main obstacle to vibrational expansion. What should be your ally in creation becomes the guardian of stagnation. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that more than 90% of the thoughts we have today are the same as yesterday, and as a consequence, feelings also repeat themselves. Emotions such as fear, guilt, insecurity, and anxiety become deep pathways in the brain, connected by neural networks that strengthen with continued use. This repetition creates what he calls a chemical personality, a state where body, mind, and emotion live in a loop. But the most impressive thing is, these networks do not remain active by logic, but by familiarity. The brain prefers known discomfort to unknown happiness. It was programmed to preserve the body, not to expand consciousness. And here is the trap. When you try to change your life only with positive thinking, without changing your internal vibrational state, you are just superimposing new words on old feelings. It is like painting over a damp wall. The new paint does not last. Bruce Lipton, a cell biologist and pioneer of spiritual epigenetics, shows that unconscious beliefs, many of them installed by the age of 7, directly affect the expression of our genes. In other words, your mind, by repeating limiting emotional states, literally alters the chemistry of your body, decreasing your immunity, your vitality, and most importantly, your vibration. All of this occurs because the brain operates in two systems, the survival system and the creation system. When you live in survival mode, your electromagnetic field, the vibrational aura that emanates from your heart and brain contracts. It's as if you're closing yourself off energetically from the universe. And here is the key point. It is not the universe that's denying you your desires. It's your frequency that's preventing you from achieving them. David Bohm, a quantum physicist, said that every visible reality emerges from an invisible field of possibilities. This field, which Neville Goddard would call the creative imagination, only responds to the coherence between thought, emotion, and action. If you think I can, but feel I don't deserve it, and act out of fear, the vibration you emit is not one of creation. It's one of internal conflict. To change this, it's not enough to simply repeat phrases or consume more spiritual content. You need to biologically reprogram your mind. And this happens through states of deep presence, where the body begins to feel safe to vibrate differently. Joe Dispenza teaches that when you enter a state of heart coherence, where your breathing and heartbeats align, your brain enters alpha and theta waves. In these states, the unconscious becomes more accessible. This is when reprogramming becomes possible. Imagine that your mind is like a field full of old trails used for decades. To create a new path, you must first stop using the old ones, and at the same time, start treading the new one with consistency. This new path is called vibrational practice. And it's not about doing something big. It's about doing it with presence. It's about stopping for 5 minutes, closing your eyes, breathing deeply, and remembering a time when you felt strong, loved, inspired. At that moment, your body begins to produce new substances. The chemistry of fear gives way to the chemistry of gratitude. The vibration of contraction gives way to the vibration of expansion. This is how you rewrite your vibrational field, one feeling at a time. You are not hostage to your biology, but you need to understand that your body is waiting for a new vibrational command to function differently. Your field does not change when you force it. It changes when you feel it. And feeling requires pause. It requires silence. It requires permission to access parts of yourself that have been numbed by haste, pain, and the logic of the world. Reprogramming is a process of vibrational tenderness. You are relearning to trust life. And this takes time, repetition, presence, but also faith. Not blind faith, but vibrational faith, the kind that is born when, even without external proof, you choose to align your feelings with what you want to experience. This faith is a silent decision to vibrate what does not yet exist until it does. Your brain, with all its blockages, is not your enemy. It just needs to be led back to trust. And it is not thought that does this. It is your consciousness, your intention, your soul, awakening little by little to awakening your inner power is not an event. It is a silent ritual. It is not about doing more. It is about remembering to feel, to vibrate, to occupy your own field with presence. And this remembering can begin in just 7 minutes a day. 7 minutes. That is the time you spend checking social media, the time it takes to sing a song, a break between appointments. But if used well, these 7 minutes can become a vibrational portal capable of reactivating forgotten circuits within your being. This exercise does not require perfect technique or an ideal environment. What it does require is emotional honesty and vibrational surrender. Because the activation of your original frequency does not happen in the mind, it happens in the body, in the vibration, in the cellular memory. And that is why the ritual you are about to learn now is based on 3 deeply connected pillars: emotional memory, conscious breathing, and coherent affirmation. Get ready. You are about to enter a space of reconnection with who you really are. 1. The call of remembrance, reconnecting with your memory of strength. Sit in a quiet place. It could be on your bed, on the floor, or in a chair. The important thing is that you are comfortable and have your spine straight to allow the energy to flow. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Now, gently allow your mind to search for a moment in your life when you felt invincible. It doesn't matter when it was: childhood, youth, or even recently. It could be something big or small, like a day when you were deeply loved, heard a life-changing phrase, or overcame something you thought was impossible. Feel that moment. See what you saw. Feel what you felt. Hear the sounds. Notice the colors, the light, the smells, the temperature. Let that scene come alive inside you. Your brain doesn't differentiate between what is experienced and what is intensely visualized. In this moment, you are reactivating the vibration of that frequency of strength, clarity, and connection. This is your original code. It's still there. It's just waiting to be remembered. 2. Vibrational breathing, making room in your body for the new frequency while this scene remains alive within you. Begin to breathe consciously. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. Do this for 3 full cycles. This breathing activates the parasympathetic system, which is responsible for relaxation, healing, and opening the electromagnetic field of the heart. As you breathe like this, imagine that the scene you are experiencing begins to expand within you like a golden sphere. It touches your chest, your abdomen, your throat, your entire body. You are not just remembering, you are reactivating it. This energy was dormant, but not dead. And with each conscious breath, it expands as if to say, I am back. 3. The living word, anchoring a new truth with vibrational coherence. Now that you are feeling, not just thinking, it's time to speak. Yes, speak. A word spoken with emotion is a vibrational command that resonates in the quantum field. Florence Scovel Shinn and Neville Goddard said, "Your word is your magic wand." But it only works when there is coherence between what is said and what is felt. Choose a short phrase. It could be, I am who I was created to be, whole and vibrant. My light does not need permission to shine. I am safe to live in my power. Repeat this phrase 3 times, out loud or whispered, feeling each word as truth. You are not just affirming, you are vibrating. Your brain, when it receives this emotion along with the word, begins to create new connections. It is being reprogrammed to trust you again. And in time, this vibration will become familiar and the old pattern obsolete. 4. The sacred closure sealing the field with vibrational gratitude finally. Bring your hands to your heart and with your eyes still closed, silently say, Gratitude, field of light. I have remembered. This is not a formal or automatic gratitude. It is a vibrational gratitude, as if your body is saying, now I know the way back. Stay in silence for a minute. Feel the field around you. Feel your body lighter, your energy clearer, your awareness more present. This is your point of origin. Return to it every day. 7 minutes. That's all. Over time, you will begin to notice small changes. More clarity, more peace, more intuition, more fluidity. And these micro-transformations imperceptible to the rush of the ego are the seeds of great change. Because the field responds to vibrational consistency, not effort. And when you vibrate with frequency, the universe recognizes, now it is safe to deliver. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a mountain, a sacred mountain, ancient, imposing. It is there before you, but shrouded in a dense white mist. You know it is there. You feel its strength, but you cannot see it clearly. The outline is hidden. The summit disappears. All that remains is the suggestion of something great. Hidden, this mountain is your inner power. It has not disappeared. It has not been destroyed. It has not been lost. It simply lies beneath the mist made of fear, doubt, pain, memories, expectations, and conditioning. And while you keep looking outward, searching for light high in the sky, you forget that the light lies dormant beneath your own feet. The mountain did not cease to exist because the mist arrived. It simply waited silently for the moment when its presence would be felt again. And that is what happens with your power. It does not need to be conquered, perfected, enhanced. It only needs to be unveiled. David Bohm spoke of the implicated order, where everything is connected in invisible layers of reality. The mountain represents this inner order, a presence that exists beyond what meets the eye, beyond the identity you present to the world. It is your intact essence, that part of you that has never been hurt, never been erased, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. And why do we use the image of the mountain? Because it carries 3 powerful messages for your vibrational journey. 1. The mountain is immobile. Even when covered, what you feel today, doubt, fatigue, lack of direction, are mists. They are emotional clouds that pass. But what you are, essence, strength, presence, remains untouched. When you judge yourself for being confused, for not knowing, for having strayed from what you believe in, you are judging the mist, not the mountain. And the mist does not define what it covers. It only covers it. Carl Jung said that suffering comes from the attempt to escape pain. And often the fog appears as a protection, as a strategy of the mind to cushion what seemed unbearable. But every fog has a cycle. And when you stop resisting and start looking inside with tenderness, the warmth of your presence begins to dissipate it. The light that warms the mountain comes from within, not from the outside sun, but from loving attention. 2. The mountain is silent, but full of life. Within the mountain, there are underground rivers, crystals, roots, caves, and telluric pulsations. So are you. Even when everything seems quiet, still, stagnant, there is life moving within you. Invisible transformations are happening. Emotions are being transmuted. Memories are being rearranged. You may not see it, but your body vibrates. Your field responds. Your soul listens. And often, it is in the deepest silence that awakening begins. Because awakening does not come with fireworks. It comes with the soft sound of consciousness whispering, you are still here. Florence Scovel Shinn said that every visible manifestation is born of an invisible recognition. And the first manifestation of your power is the recognition that it never left. It was just waiting to be seen without haste, without judgment, without demand. 3. The mountain is sacred. Even without witnesses, you don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to be recognized, admired, or followed to be powerful. The universe vibrates through you, even when no one is looking. The coherence of your energy does not depend on external validation. It flourishes in the intimacy of silence. Performative spirituality, as we have seen, tries to transform the sacred into a spectacle. But the mountain teaches us, the sacred is that which remains whole even when it is not seen. You are that wholeness. You are that living temple. And the process of removing the fog is, in fact, a return to simplicity, a return to what was always there. When you stop for a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say, I remember myself, something inside the mountain vibrates. It is as if every cell is echoing that memory and beginning to align with its original frequency. And here is the beauty of the process. You don't have to clear the fog all at once. All it takes is one ray of presence a day, one gesture of authenticity, one conscious breath, one choice made from the heart. Each small act dissolves a layer. And over time, the silhouette of the mountain begins to emerge. At first subtle, then firm, until you recognize, I've always been here. I've never lost myself. Because presence is the compass, authenticity is the sun, and self-love is the warmth that dissipates the clouds. Your power is like the mountain, deep, ancient, unshakable. It may have been silenced, but it has not been destroyed. And now, with awareness, you can touch this place again, not as one who climbs, but as one who returns. And now, breathe. Not in a hurry, not out of obligation, but as someone who honors their own existence. Because if you have come this far, something inside you, something subtle, silent, and profoundly true has responded to this call. And perhaps now it is clear, your inner power was never a distant goal. It is a memory, an energetic memory of who you are behind the layers, the masks, the fears. You do not need to build this strength from scratch. You need to allow it to emerge, like the mountain that reappears when the fog dissipates. Awakening does not happen in one leap. It happens in small gestures, in moments of silence amidst the noise, in choices that no one sees, but that the universe feels. And when you choose, day after day, to return to the center of your being, something changes. You begin to vibrate differently, to perceive life with more gentleness, more presence, more meaning. And even if the world still tries to drag you back to the rush, to fear, to disconnection, your soul learns the way back. This is the greatest power that exists, knowing how to return to your axis, not to isolate yourself, but to act from your essence. Because a centered being, at peace and in coherence with their truth, is a channel of silent transformation in the world. They do not impose. They inspire. They do not need to convince. They vibrate. But the journey of reconnection does not end here. What you have heard, felt, and understood along this path needs continuity. A ritual, a sacred space, a practice. That is why, if this message touched something in you, if it awakened that gentle memory of who you always were, perhaps it is time to go deeper. To take care of this reunion with yourself as if you are watering a seed every day. And one of the most direct ways to do this is through conscious meditation, not as an escape, but as a return. If you feel like you're just starting out, or if you want to give structure to your inner practice, there is a safe and accessible path that can support this vibrational expansion. The Meditation Guide from Zero to Advanced. This material was created to accompany you precisely in this transition, from falling asleep to being present. It offers a practical journey, delicately constructed for beginners, but with enough depth to take your consciousness to higher states of clarity and tranquility. The proposal is simple but powerful. create a space within your routine where your frequency can breathe, rebalance, and gradually expand. You don't need complex rituals to vibrate differently. You need consistency, intention, and presence. And this can start today with 7 minutes, with a simple breath, with a silent yes to your own truth. Remember, your power doesn't reveal itself when you shout. It emerges when you listen, when you choose to be, not out of obligation, but out of love for yourself. And so I ask you, what if what you seek most is not outside, but waiting patiently for you to come to yourself? What if each step you take towards consciousness is, in fact, a step of universal consciousness towards you? What if, by awakening this dormant power, you do not become someone better, but finally allow yourself to be who you already are? The answer, the change, is not here, in this video, nor is it out there, in some unattainable ideal. The answer is where it has always been, in the vibrational center of your being. And now you know the way back.